So I made this track several years ago. It's under an alias, Industry Inside Her. It's called Stacked Riser. It sold quite well actually. Okay, so you get the idea. So this is made in Studio One. Very complicated mix looking at it. When I was making this track, I had a Dangerous D-Box summing outboard bit of kit, and it went through a compressor as well. An Elysia Expressor compressor, and all the routing is set up to do that in order to print it back. So this is now muted, the print, but the idea was to send it out to the outboard gear, warm it up, compress it, glue it together, and then bring it back in, which is what I did. So I've just changed the routing a little bit to play you it today, but you can see down here that there's quite a lot of routing going on, lots of subgroups, and then those subgroups go into secondary buses, and then those buses go into a main output, and they're all processed, so it's quite heavy on the processing. Looking at it, I've got loads of UAD plugins going as well, so I think at the time I might have had an Apollo outboard, a quad card, and now I've just got an internal one, so it's quite heavily dependent on that. So looking at how I made it, looking at some of the tracks, it appears to be that I've done a lot of bouncing down to audio. I must have been freaking out about the fact that I didn't have much processing power, because I can see I've got Halion 4 bounces here, and some of the drums, there's lots of layering of drums, and there's no drum instrument apart from the side chain, so I assume I've bounced it all down at the time. So this is really more of a case of not how I made it, it's more on the arrangement and the processing based upon Studio One. So I'm just going to play it and start popping open some of the inserts and just showing you how I made some of the sounds and got the outcome I wanted. So let's get the drums, let's look at the drums. So the drums, I think I've got a kick drum, which I must have made in something like Impact. And I've laid it up with some high percussion. We also had a beat to it as well. So you can hear the high percussion, add the kick. Gives a nice weighty beat. There's the fill. Let me have a look at what quantize settings I use. There's no a special swing or anything like that. I usually use an MPC swing on this, but I just seem to have laid it up and gone for it. Some tops, they sound ever so thin, so I assumed I've cut those out. Yeah, you can hear those, cut most of the sound out. Let's have a look at this. No EQing hardly at all. In fact, there is none. No gain or anything. I must have set up a channel default and not even EQ'd it. Let's have a look on this one. Yeah, that's to keep the weight in. I've taken the top away and a little smiley curve just there on the EQ. Let's have a listen to this one. taking the top and the bottom off. Anyway, let's add the bass in the sub. That sounds a pretty lame bass. Just get it going again. What am I doing there? Well, heavy cut in the middle there, just to take the mud out. What have I done there? Just a straight UAD compressor. Ooh, I'm listening back to it now. I don't like the bass. There's no sub bass in it. So this, when I set it up, I must have had a template with all these track titles in. So let's add them all together so we can listen to the beat and the bass. I've got to say the bass is boring. But that's enough to make the track work. Let's add a lead. So the lead is this yellow one. What do I do there? Almost certainly that's Halley and Sonic, with a send to a verb opener. No EQing, so that must have been EQ'd in Hallian before I bounced it. Let's add the other lead. No. Small verb there. So both those lead sounds are going to a medium verb and a small verb. This is Hallian again. Solo this because this sounds filtered. So what do I do there? No EQing. And I use this Sugarbacks Wow filter. I assume it's automated. Let's have a look. Yeah, you can see these red lines here, so there must be quite a bit of automation going there. Let's see what it does. There we go, yeah. So in the break, what I've done is I've just filtered it right down. Yeah, you can really hear it now. And then up and down, just to give it that whirling effect. Actually, a really good filter, this one. I've got Wow 2 as well, which is good. Not as simple as this. Okay, it's okay. Seem to also have extra men as well. Can't even remember what that does. Just close that down. So we'll listen to this one. So what have I got there? An effect delay on this blue one in the middle just here. An interesting effect, I like that. Let's do this one as well. This is just more of the same but a slight change. I think what I must have done is copied these two channels onto these two channels and then filter them. Right, the vocal. Let's listen to the vocal. Where are the vocals? And this one's delayed, it says. So I must have made it and then delayed it because there's no effects on it here. Now, what was interesting when I made the track, these yeah sounds made the side chain really kick in and made it pump on the main beat. So if you just listen, you'll hear the side chain kick in and drop the beat down. least I think it's them. It might have been a happy accident, I don't know, but the sidechain really kicks in and gives it a boomy sort of kick. So playing on. So these are my main buses. So everything goes into these buses to then be affected. So this is the drum bus. Let's have a look what I did here. I've got a Fatso on from UAD and an SSL. I love the SSL sound, nice and gritty. And then on the leads I've got a Studer from UAD, a glue compressor. God knows why I've put it in that order, seems backwards, and a Neve EQ. So the glue compressor is just touching it a little bit. And what's the Studer doing? Adding a bit of noise and grit. This is the bass bus, which has just got some EQ on it, just focusing on that area. That's probably why I've not used the EQ so much down there, because I knew I was going to bus it and then EQ it on the bus. The Vox. Let's have a look what I did here. Yeah. So took all the bottom end away and then just compressed it. Quite gentle. Okay. So those go to bus 1, 2, 3 and 4. Where's bus 1, 2, 3 and 4? There we go. So this is bus 1. So the drums have gone through all together into that drum bus, then they've been routed to this final bus going out before it goes to the dangerous D box. And I just put it into this virtual channel thing by Slate Digital. Only a little bit of gain, a little bit of drive, nothing major, but using the Brick 4K setting, which is the SSL emulator, and then through an SSL Duende EQ, which all looked turned off, to be honest, so it just went straight into the D box. Yeah. And I think I did that the same for this bus as well. Yeah, so it all had the same sort of preset. So from there they went out into the D box and back in, but I've rerouted them back into the main. So they're going out the main on the channel now. So just looking at the effects, what I've got, an NYC parallel compression bus, which is just using the glue, and looking at it, I've got a high ratio, and I just send to it to bounce the sound backwards. I even made my own preset to do it. So my sound, my drum bus is sent to it, and the levels are adjusted to just add more weight to the drums. Look up parallel compression and NYC compression on the internet, and you'll see the sort of weight that it adds to a drum track. Let's just have a look. What else have we got here? I'm soloing everything by the look of it. Oh no. You can hear the delay. This is the send coming in. It gives that sort of eerie feeling. There's an analog delay. I don't know if I'm using it actually. Probably not. Yeah, we've got a a small verb and a medium verb and a big verb even, and you can hear the sound coming in just to add some sort of space. Yeah. So what I probably did at the time was set up different sends, small verbs to big verbs, just to save processing power. So what I'm going to do is just let it play out, or play this middle bit, and you've sort of understood the sort of routing. But what I will say about Studio One is it's very good. A little bit garish colours I've used here, but aside from that, it's very capable DAW if you're into it, and the updates have been fantastic over the years, very reasonable and very quick and prompt. So I'll play it out, hope that helps.